Welcome back to another edition of Community Capital. My name is Rob Johnson. We have another great show for you today. Joining me in studio is Paul Kolby. He is the owner of Kolby Co, broker agent for Keller Williams Professional here in Livingston County. Their office is in Brighton. Paul, welcome to the show.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Thank you.
So this is your first time here, first time in the studio. Is this your first time doing a podcast?
This is my first time doing a podcast.
All right, very good. I'll take it easy on you. So tell me a little bit about what brought you into real estate. And I know that there's a different journey for everybody. And some people, that's the first thing that they do in their career and they stick with it forever. And some people, it's a second act. So tell me about how you got into real estate.
For me, it is a second act, I would say. I was in engineering and program management for over 30 years with a company called Johnson Controls. Back in 2017, the company was sold or had a spin-off of the automotive division. They became Adient, who I worked for 3 years. The industry changed quite a bit in that time frame. I ended up getting my real estate license in 2019, and in 2020 ended up going full-time into real estate.
That is such an interesting time period to go into real estate. And the reason I say that is because it pretty much went from nothing happening in real estate to everything happening at the same time between 2020 and 2021. So what was that like to be kind of just before the boom took off for that 2-year period?
So in 2019, I was part of a team, and I was still working full-time. It was, in that point, I didn't really understand the market. I was just learning real estate. I was learning to understand the ins and outs of the deals and really how to read the market. In 2020, it was actually March of 2020, when I moved to Keller Williams and became a solo agent. And so, as you can imagine, March 15th of 2020 was the day we opened the doors over here in Brighton, and the day they told everybody, don't come to the office.
Close your doors.
So I didn't feel that rush of real estate action right at the beginning. But by the end of 2020, things were moving pretty good. I had gotten a couple deals under my belt without actually showing people houses in person. We did a lot of video. We had inspectors doing a lot of video. And so it was a real learning curve for me. But just getting my feet on the ground, it was a little different than maybe some of the agents who've been doing it for a while and then ran into this wall of movement. It was really not until 2021 where all the action started, and interest rates were really low. People were realizing they didn't need to live where they work anymore. A lot of people were going virtual, or only having to go into the office once or twice a week, and that was allowing them to move further and further away from wherever their office might have been.
Yeah. And I know during that time, there were so many new real estate agents coming into the market, and also mortgage companies. Remember, everybody and their brother was starting a mortgage company between, Q4 2020 and, the end of 2021. How did you hold and stay in the market when a lot of people coming into 2022 and 2023 were, doing a mass exodus because of interest rates going up and, the inventory being so low? So how did you continue your longevity through that period being a newer agent?
Yeah, I would say most of it is out of necessity. You have to keep working. And in the industry that I left, automotive, with the shutdowns, and I don't know if you remember, but there was a big shortage of silicon chips and the data chips that they use to control the brains within the vehicles. So everything was shut down for a long time. Yeah. And finding work within the automotive industry in engineering or program management was tough at that time. So it was really more necessity. Stay in real estate, keep your nose to the grindstone. But I would also say that part of it was just a passion. Once I got into real estate, I realized how much I really enjoyed the ability to meet new people on a daily basis, to work with new people and build new relationships.
So tell me about how you go from being on a team to now you have Kolby Co. That's you and your wife. Is that right? Mm-hmm. So tell me about the origin of that.
I was over at Remerick United, great brokerage right down the street here. Our team moved to Keller Williams in 2020, and I became a solo agent. So instead of being part of the team, I became Paul Kolby Real Estate. And in just the last year, my wife decided to bring her talents. She has a history in sales and marketing. She brought her talents into real estate, got her license. And once she started working with me, we decided that Paul Kolby Real Estate really didn't make sense anymore. So we changed the name to Kolby Co.
Yeah, and since then, as I was doing some research online, you've developed a really good online reputation, good feedback, good reviews, and I think that's kind of going back to your testament of being passionate about real estate. And that's something that I had mentioned, because I have a really good friend of mine who's been in real estate in the county for over 20 years, and her and I have talked about this routinely, especially during that period in COVID. But a lot of agents were getting in there for the cash grab because it was a hot market. Same thing with the mortgage companies. But the ones that had no passion are the ones that exited the market so quickly. So when you mentioned one of the reasons for the longevity and staying with it is the passion, I think that's 100% the reason that people end up staying in the market that long and finding success is that particular reason. So credit to you for that.
Yeah, I believe there's a lot of people that came into the market thinking it was kind of like on TV. People call you up and they have you go see 3 houses and then they pick one. And
their budget's $1.4 million and they're like a niche woodworker or something.
Exactly. And that's really not, most of the clients, I'd have to say, are not that. Yeah. In my career, I've had 2 walk-ins where somebody walked in and said, I want to sell my house, that have actually worked out. Other than that, it's a lot of work. Getting your name out there, communicating with your sphere, talking to your friends, and really just communicating with people to educate them on the market and what their options within the market are.
So as of right now, actually, it's funny. I prepared a talk a couple weeks ago for another KW organization, and in that talk, I had discussed about how realtors should conduct themselves on social media. Mm-hmm. And I said, one of the worst things you can do is tell people like now is the right time to buy, because then essentially what you're saying is in 3 months, it's the wrong time to buy. So you're kind of talking yourself into a corner. But I see that a lot where people are talking about urgency, or they're like, you have to do it now, or now's the best time, or rates are going up or down or all around or whatever. So how have you managed the message for real estate, especially as it's been so wild between interest rates going up, which historically they're not,
right.
They're up from where they were 3 years ago.
Yeah, they're actually at the lowest point they've been in over 2 years. I think they just dipped under 6% this week. So
yeah. And, but some people that's like, well, that's double what I paid in 2021, so how have you managed the message of, rates and the market and inventory, to people that are following you online?
I believe that the decision to buy or sell real estate is always an individual decision. It really, you want to look at the market, you want to look at the trends in the market, but I really think when it comes to purchasing a home, it's when somebody is ready, willing, and able to purchase that home. For the most part, if we look at the history of home values over the last 30 years, we did have a few dips, but for the most part, there's been a very consistent growth in the value of real estate. If you could go back, 20 years and buy a home right now, you definitely do it. If you could see the value of that home today, it's definitely gained in value. So it's not necessarily the market all the time or the interest rates all the time. It's where that person is and what their goals are. Now, sometimes we'll tell them, this house may not make sense for you, or it looks like rates may be coming down a little bit if you want to hold on. But for the most part, like I said, it's an individual decision, and it's when they're ready, willing, and able to purchase that real estate.
No, I completely agree. And then as we look at 2026 in the market, what are you seeing or foreseeing for this year compared to last year?
We do see some interest rate drops potentially on the horizon here. Like I said, we just saw it drop under 6%. I would imagine that's going to bounce around a few times and go up and down. And we may see 5.5% by the end of the year for conventional. I mean, right now with VA or with FHA, you can get close to that as long as your credit score is right. But that's one of the questions everybody always asks is, hey, what's the interest rate today? And it's like, well, that depends on a lot. What type of loan you're getting, where your credit is. And we always direct them towards one of our lender partners, which we have great lender partners in the industry here.
And then when you look at kind of the growth of Kolby Co, what do you want to do from a growth perspective? Are you thinking about just keeping it you and your wife, or adding more team members, or what do you want for your business?
We are actually interviewing a new team member right now. She's looking at potentially coming over and joining us within the next month or two. We'd like to grow it, but we want to grow it at a rate that everybody within the team can be successful. We don't want to be a team where the the leadership of the team is doing really well, and then we bring in people that are struggling. So we want to be able to coach and train them, which I have to give a shout out to Keller Williams. They just do a great job with their training and the available training that's out there. As long as you take advantage of it, it's a great brokerage to work with.
It's interesting that you say that. I had met with a group of agents recently from Keller Williams, and I had asked them why they picked that brokerage over the others. And across the board, everybody said training. Like, they have the best continuing education program for real estate that they've seen, and the amount that KW dumps into their realtors, all of them spoke glowingly about it, which I thought was really interesting. So every person I've met from KW has said the same thing to me, which is a testament to how they run it.
Yeah, I think it's really important. I mean, the especially now, the industry is always changing. With the advent of AI, there's just so much opportunity out there, and there's so many people that are really diving into it, and there's just so much sharing within the KW community. I would say once a month you can get on and take training on virtually anything, whether it's writing a contract, making offers, cold calling, door knocking, or using AI to promote your business.
Yeah. And then what is the most effective way that you've seen, for lead generation, for finding new clients, for growing the business?
And I would say lead generation is probably one of the most important parts of the job. It's also the hardest part of the job. Once you get a client, once I get a client, that's my favorite part, is working with the clients, building that relationship, helping them to achieve their goals, whether it's purchasing a new home or selling the home that they have and moving on to whatever's next. When it comes to lead generation, though, from 2019 to now, it's just continually been changing. There's, I would say right now, social media and online activity is probably the number one form of prospecting outside of calling your sphere. Calling people calling people that know, like, and trust you, and talking to them on a regular basis, letting them know that you're in the industry, you're doing well, and that you have your finger on the pulse of the market, and that you can be trusted within this industry. The one thing that hurts more than anything is when you see a friend that you haven't talked to in 2 years and you see their house is for sale. Oh. And, they may live in another town or something, but it's just like, and you call them and they're like, well, I didn't know. And so, well, that's on me. Right.
Yeah.
And so getting the word out there, letting people know that, you're in the industry and you're here to provide any help you can. And we always tell people, it doesn't matter if you're ready to buy or sell now. You can call us anytime for any information on the market, on what's happening in their area, to help them kind of plan for the next 4 to 5 years if need be.
Yeah, that's a good point. And, something that I've always recommended realtors and really most professionals out there is there's an application called Zoho Social. And they also have a CRM as well. And it's really inexpensive, especially for solo plans. Not a sponsor of the show, but just a product that I'm a fan of and we used as an agency until we outgrew it. But the benefit of that is being able to schedule social content and also being able to create an email CRM where you can build a database of people. Mm-hmm. Because just what you said, reminding people about your business consistently through email in a passive way is so incredibly powerful, because then you don't miss out on those opportunities where someone goes to sell their house 2 years later and they're like, damn, I forgot Paul did real estate. Mm-hmm. And that's such a great tool to have, and it's incredibly inexpensive, and you're just adding emails to it, and then once a quarter send out a blast.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
So, Paul, as we look to close our time here, what is something you want the audience to know about you as a realtor, business professional? What's something that sets you apart from other folks in that particular industry?
So I believe what sets us apart is our experience, our relationships, and our commitment to the community. And what I mean by that is our experience with my engineering and program management background. I bring structure and planning to every deal that we do, as well as strong communication with the clients and helping them to understand what's going on at all times so they don't have questions about what's next. Really helps the transaction run smooth. My wife's background in marketing and sales helps us to get the houses prepared to show and helps us to present them to the market in an effective way and get them sold quickly. The relationships are really the relationships that we've built with other professionals within this industry, including other real estate agents. One of the most important things I've found over my 6 years in the business is working with another agent who is competent, who answers their phone, who is good at what they do, makes the job run so much smoother. There are a lot of great agents out there in this community. So if you're looking to buy or sell, I would say reach out to one that you know, like, and trust. And then third, we're involved in the community. My wife and I both participate in a lot of the community events. We're members of the Chamber of Commerce. We participate a lot in Howell with the downtown Howell community, do a lot of volunteering at Melon Fest and at the different concert series they have down there. We participate in the Brighton downtown events. We also volunteer through our church and our members there. I play on the worship team, guitar at the worship team at Agape City. Not a sponsor. Anyway, so it's really the experience, relationships, and our commitment to community that I say sets us apart.
So, Paul, one thing we were talking about in the pre-show was your involvement with Lions of Heroes, which is a nonprofit I had some exposure to at the end of last year. So why don't you tell our listeners about your work with that organization?
Thank you. Great question. I am a board member with the Lions of Heroes. I'm actually one of the co-founders, myself and Charles Yunkin, another realtor in the area, started Lions of Heroes a few years back. We are really committed to the mental health and mental fitness of first responders and our active and retired military. As you know, that in some of these high-level jobs, everybody knows that in the military, the number one cause of death after people leave the military is suicide. That happens to be true for law enforcement as well. It's right up there with nursing, firefighting, dispatch, EMT.
Yeah.
A lot of these jobs that people are expected to work at a high level of
It's just stress, anxiety, pressure. Like
Exactly.
There's all the things that you have. And then I had a medical background for the first 5 years of my career, and it's insanely stressful.
Mm-hmm.
It's a ton of pressure, and I can't even imagine what it's like when you're overseas.
And then they retire, they come back to first world problems and just the anxiety and really the inability to find the help that they need right now.
Yeah.
I'm happy to say that as we've gone through the last 3 years with Lions of Heroes, there are a lot of organizations out there that are taking this much more serious than they have in the past. The law enforcement groups, we've talked with Howell, Brighton, the Sheriff's Department, they all have programs now to help with mental health and mental fitness, giving these officers somewhere to go to talk to people. But that's really the goal of Lions of Heroes is to provide any resources we can. I would say that we've just kind of left the infancy stage of the foundation, and we're now kind of in the toddler stage. We were able to give to the Brighton Police Force this year. We gave to the Green Oaks Police Force, and we also gave to the Nurses Foundation in the area. And so that was great. But we just want to keep doing it, keep giving more, and providing more assistance in that area.
That's great. Well, Paul, we'll make sure we include a link for Lions of Heroes in the show notes for the episode today as well. Well, Paul, hopefully I took it easy on you for your first podcast and it went smooth, but I certainly appreciate you making the time to come in today and share your business with everybody.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, that's going to wrap up this week's edition of Community Capital. I certainly appreciate you watching. If you can, do me a favor and subscribe to the Chamber YouTube channel to follow along with all of the updates. from that wonderful organization. It's brightoncoc.org if you want to see all the upcoming events that the Chamber's putting on. Apart from that, we'll catch you next week with a new episode. Take care.